As I've talked with you over the past few years, and I've shared with you the focus that our administration has had on basically three pillars of building the most conducive climate for business and economic development growth, providing for sustainable infrastructure, and fostering an environment and a culture of positive lifestyle choices. And as I was building some of the themes and the different pieces that I wanted to share with you today, I wanted to think a little bit more and share also some of the thoughts of where we're going in understanding that those three pillars have served us incredibly well over the past 3 years, that we've seen tremendous growth across our businesses and our economic development area, that we've had over 1,000 jobs retained and over 500 that have been created thanks to the incredible work by all of the business and community leaders across the city. And we've seen a foundation for the infrastructural changes that we need to put in place happen. And we've also started to grow some new programs that have contributed towards healthier decision-making, healthier lifestyle choices overall. So as I've shared with you in some different contexts a little bit about the idea of how do we grow this? How do we grow our engagement with our employees, with our citizens, and with everyone across the community? How do we grow our economy and the community as a whole? And so that has taken me to what I've shared with some folks, and you've seen some different iterations of this, of the concept that in the city of LaPorte we would follow the pursuit of happiness to then move on to creating the happiest Hoosier city. And so what you see before you here is the roadmap for how we get to the happiest Hoosier city. And the idea behind why we would create this is one that, as we've talked about engagement overall across the community, ultimately it leads towards more productive employees, more engaged, more innovative individuals. It leads to folks who are making healthier decisions throughout all of their processes of different things that they're thinking about. And they're much less likely to create turmoil, to create issues. And so as you apply that across a community spectrum, then that really leads to a decrease in criminal activity. And so there is a method behind my madness of trying to suggest that we could become the happiest Hoosier city. And so as I've evaluated how we get ourselves to this point, I've thought, it really is amazing to see how this already lends itself to the three pillars that we've created of and as I've shown them here, the traffic lanes of business and economic growth, infrastructure, and positive lifestyle choices. And if we look at how we take some of those pillars and apply them to a concept of creating a happier citizen, a happier employee, with the understanding that the happiness quotient or the idea of happiness overall is going to differ for every one individual. But if you define it in just saying that it's really what amounts to deep-seated, long-lasting contentment, then you can pull out some different pieces that are common for every person of understanding that there is opportunities for earned success, that an individual feels that they've earned that success, and also that they've added value to the world around them. Now, how each person wants to define success, value, and the world around them is up to each of them. And if we take that and then, as I said, apply that to how we've looked at our focus of the business and economic growth, infrastructure, and positive lifestyle choices, the last piece is that infrastructure. And there's a great book called For the Love of Cities. It's written by a guy by the name of Peter Kagiyama, who is a former urban planner, who talks about the emotional connection that individuals feel with their places and what makes somebody fall in love with their city. And there's an important aspect that he covers in there of what makes somebody fall out of love with their place or with the city. And that is when you fail to provide the very basic services that we talk about of safety, of roads, water, sewer, sidewalks, all those kinds of things. And so the key aspect here with the happiness quotient then is preventing falling out of love with the city. So if we continue along the paths that have served us well with the idea that we think a little bit more about creating equal opportunities, of preventing folks from falling out of love with our city, and then adding value to the world around us and around them, and just also factor in some of these points of enhancing critical thinking skills, engaging communication, and emphasizing the value of hard work and our responsibilities as citizens of this great country and this community, then I think that that takes us well on our way towards a community that really could be built around the concept of happiness overall in a real world scenario, not just like Disney World, which is a wonderful place, but it's generally a one-time thing with some diminishing returns when you have to unfortunately leave Disney World. So as we evaluate this and look at what we've done over the past few years, as I said, those pillars have really served us well, or the travel lanes have served us well, and especially over the last year. Then if we talk about building the most conducive climate for business and economic development, and how that lends itself to creating equal opportunity for success, I just want to touch on a few of these areas. That we've had some incredible projects that hopefully folks have had the opportunity to see. That I've got a couple displayed here that hopefully folks have all had the opportunity to go past our friends at Alcoa Haumet and all the exciting things that are happening as they're growing out there. That we celebrated in May of last year with Governor Pence joining us for the groundbreaking of the project there that represents initially what was planned for a $100 million investment in the community, but I believe that there's additional capability that's being added on there. They planned 329 new positions when that is up and running. That facility now represents what will be the premier aerospace manufacturing facility in the world, right here in LaPorte, Indiana. So a tremendous opportunity for the community of LaPorte as we continue to celebrate with our friends at Alcoa Haumet on all the great things that are happening there. We also see here Jaeger Unitech, a $4.5 million investment in the community. Great to see the success continue at Jaeger as they initially planned for the growth of 52 new positions and are already exceeding that at, I believe, 62 or maybe around 65 at this point. And we were also happy to have Governor Pence come up and visit before you were able to share the announcement of the planned relocation and expansion. That he joined them at the picture you see there is the old location, but the picture below you'll see is representing of the new facility. And I think it was important to incorporate some of those new pictures so that it helps convey that manufacturing is very different from how many people have viewed it in the past across the community, to be able to take advantage of resources that we have in a way that's going to help make our downtown, the greater downtown, appear more innovative and serve so many different capacities. They're putting in, I believe, a 3D printer at the moment, that they have a class that the students are building the 3D printer itself, which is pretty phenomenal. Just amazing things happening at the library too. So hopefully you're getting a sense from this of what kinds of collaboration are happening across the community to make this all come together. Within that note, one of our collaborative efforts has been with the Greater LaPorte Economic Development Corporation, the Chamber, the city, and so I think that covers everybody there with the school corporation, to do the business and education engagement opportunities menu. That we have been out, the superintendent and I have been on a little bit of a road show to try and communicate all the different opportunities that are available for our businesses to interact directly with our students. And what I think is really amazing about what the school corporation has done with this is that they're now taking that feedback and applying it to this feasibility study that they're conducting at the moment, to then figure out how do we appropriately place this interaction within the student's experience for their entire time that we have with them. Is it best placed in 3rd grade, in 5th grade, 8th grade? What are we doing to inspire these individuals to think through some of their career plans overall? And so I did include a little piece right here that the feasibility study is going on right now. And I know that the superintendent and everyone in the school corporation would greatly appreciate your feedback by participating in that survey. So you just go to the website right there and click away to be able to participate. That they are currently in a variant that they are reviewing some of their programming. They've done a piece that looks at the facilities and are now looking at the programming and course offerings, which I think is incredibly important. And overall, what you see at this top here is a graph that shows our unemployment since January of 2012. which I think tells an important story of what's happened with our climate overall, our business climate, that we've continued to see. We had a little bit of a spike in the winter of 2013, but we've seen continual decreases in our unemployment rate, so that now for the year of 2014, it generally settled out between 3.5% and 3.1%. And so as we wrapped up December of 2014, we were at 3.1% unemployment rate, which is a tremendous accomplishment for our business community. And it speaks to, now there's certainly different factors that could get considered in unemployment, and so it's a tool of many tools that we look at, but it certainly is an important aspect to understand when we talk about workforce development and the training opportunities that we need to ensure that we're providing for our students and for those in the workforce now, that as we are growing these new positions, then it's incumbent upon us to make sure that we're providing these training opportunities for these businesses to grow, to have the workforce available to fill the positions that are being created, and certainly to consider, as we're looking at a generation of baby boomers that are getting ready to retire, and then who is going to then be filling those positions as they're looking towards different aspects of their lives. So that kind of wraps up a little bit of the economic development portion and takes us then into some of the providing for sustainable infrastructure, and ultimately then how we're laying a foundation that's going to, as I say, sustain itself so that folks don't fall out of love with the city. And we're going to do things a little bit differently this year. You have before you a little handout. And we're going to do a little version of LaPorte Road School today. And this is now going to be interactive. And when you talk about roads and the condition that they're currently in, I share some of the frustration that folks have when you travel across deteriorating roads that are generally a product of the maintenance that we've been able to put towards it, the funding that we've been able to put towards it, and then also having terrible winters that we have up here. And so the weather does not do us any favors with trying to maintain concrete on a long-term basis. There aren't easy solutions to this problem, but there are some solutions that we're working towards that I want to make sure to share with you. But as I said, it's a little complex, and so that's why I thought I'd go to having a worksheet that folks would actually be able to take with them. So we're going to just kind of talk through some of these questions up here. And I have my board over here that I'll be able to fill out as we go through, and hopefully then, this is the play along at home version, and you can fill in your blanks as we go through here. The City of LaPorte street paving budget line item was created in the blank budget. Is there anybody that has a guess of which year that line item was created? This table is excluded.
That's pretty good.
The answer is 2014. So the council took steps in 2013 that for the first time ever, the City of LaPorte had a street paving line item in the budget in 2014. So you can go ahead and write that in there. So as the line item was created, there also had to be a way to actually put some funding towards that line item. And what was created was the blank maintenance fee. Anybody have an idea on what that maintenance fee is? Who reads their utility bills? Nope. The answer is the trash maintenance fee, that one of the largest contributors towards the wear and tear on our roads are snowplows and trash trucks. And so that's why if you see on your utility bills a $2 per month fee, then that's what it goes towards, is the maintenance of these roads. With a little over 8,000 customers and $2 a month, that gets us to about $192,000 a year that is collected in maintenance fees that goes towards roads. So you can put in 192 at that 192 spot there. That is the trash maintenance fee. The other item that you see listed there, and funds appropriated by the state of, okay, anybody? This is a given. Indiana, all right. And when we talk about those funds that have been provided by the state of Indiana, that's come out to about $163,000. It's a little obscure number, so I didn't imagine that anybody was going to guess that one. $163,000 for the last 2 years. To give you an idea of what we're talking about with the roads overall, to get us to the point that our roads need to be at with the reconstruction necessary and the paving necessary, it's roughly about $25 million. So that gives you just a general idea of where we're going with the road funding and some of the uphill battle. So at least it is a start, that we're getting towards something, that at least there wasn't a line item in the budget beforehand. So understanding that there are some challenges and we do need to be doing some more work towards this. In 2015, we are anticipating spending around $1.5 million towards road funding. It's not quite 25 million, but 1.5 is at least a start. And you'll see before you then some of the areas that we're able to pull some funds from. The tax shortfall funds comes from taxes that weren't collected in previous years that the state of Indiana authorized us to collect this year. Then the trash and maintenance fee from the past year, and the state funds that the trash maintenance fee was passed in 2013. So 2014 was the first year that it was actually collected. So then that is what takes us to the $535,000. We did have some bond proceeds from a bond that was initiated in 2013, about $30,000 of that remaining, and then we also have some funds from CCD that we'll be able to pull from the Cumulative Capital Development Fund. Now the challenge with taking any of the CCD funds are that they do not repopulate themselves very quickly, so we certainly don't try to pull from those very often. And ultimately we want to use some of those funds when we do any of our opportunities for matching money when we work with the federal government, which is not an annual availability. So that takes us to the second point here of the city will develop a pavement management system which allows for, and the word I'll insert here is systematic analysis of the material condition and use of all the roads. So it's a program that then looks at the material condition, looks at how often the road is used, and then puts it into a database to then create a programmed maintenance schedule for our roads all across the board. Takes out some of the human error and maybe some of the human interest in different roads that get addressed first. And the second item here with the blank, that it allows for access to federal funding for road maintenance via NERC, which is the Northwestern Indiana Regional Plan Commission, for federal aid routes. And about half of our streets qualify as federal aid routes that then we can apply towards some of the programs that are available through there. Those programs are traditionally 80-20 match, and so the city is required to provide 20% of the cost for the program overall. When we look at the plans for outside of 2015, for 2016 to 21, then we'll be able to use funds from the trash maintenance fee from the state of Indiana. And I hope you'll note my little note in there. Be sure to encourage our legislators to continue that road funding from CCD, and then the matching federal funds. And we're going to be continuing our analysis of what some of the wear and tear is on the roads from various different vehicles. This is a part of a larger conversation that's happening across the country towards our infrastructure as it is continuing to crumble in so many different capacities. It's not just our roads, it's our bridges, it's our airports, it's our ports, our railways, and there's a tremendous amount of information out there, but there's, again, no easy solutions, because where does the money come from for this significant amount of capital that's required to maintain our infrastructure? We do have a start of a plan, and I have to give tremendous credit to our city engineer, Nick Minnick, and Mike Fraze, who was our street superintendent, for putting a lot of effort towards building this program. I also have a picture up here that shows a little bit of the work that's going to be done once the weather clears up for ADA sidewalks. I'll stand right in front of it so you can't see it. The purple area that you see up there will be sidewalks that are addressed from our bond proceeds that are going towards it. You'll see this is actually Tipton Street, that is along here. Or sorry, that's Jefferson, here's State Street, and then Tipton is up at the top, and it comes around. So that's some of the focus area there. We'll have a little bit on Jackson Street here. And we're doing some 50-50 match money as well for some residents that applied for that particular program, and those are all scheduled. They're already under contract and will happen as soon as the weather breaks. The street and transport departments have continued to serve the community tremendously well, not just in the plans for this year, but over the past year, the street department applied over 2,000 tons of hot mix and cold patch. They removed 49 dead trees and 56 stumps, and 281 traffic signs were replaced across the city. So they're a very busy department as they're also trying to maintain the roads. One of the projects that we're working towards this year is the new building for the street department, as they've basically outgrown their current structure, and so that's a big priority for this year. And transport has had an incredible year. That hopefully you've heard about the Transit Triangle route that is now connecting the city of LaPorte, Michigan City, and Purdue North Central. And ridership has just continued to increase since the program's launch in early February. I imagine that those numbers will continue to grow as folks are, probably as some of the school calendar changes a little bit, and folks are thinking it's an incredibly clean facility, that the floors are much cleaner than the ones at my house, and you can all but eat off of them, and there's just tremendous technology that is incorporated in what's happening in our advanced manufacturing fields. We've also seen success from B&B Manufacturing as they're growing, planned 40 new positions, and plastics packaging was another addition that we had last year, with 20 new positions created by having their addition into the community. We've also had some incredible events. The Maple City Grand Prix has continued, and we're heading into our third year of having the Maple City Grand Prix. And we are making preparations for a successful bid, as we're choosing to believe, for PGI in 2016. One of my favorite events, as you might be able to tell from that picture below, and the opportunity to go and blow some things up for a little while. And the Taste of LaPorte has continued to be a tremendous event that has drawn people from not only the city but from surrounding areas to come and sample some of the great restaurants that we have across the city, and to enjoy all the different things that are happening around the community. And we'll look to continue that type of event in our downtown. That Thaddeus Cutler has done a tremendous job of coordinating many different events, and I'll touch a little bit more on some of what we're doing with the downtown in just a minute. We have some very exciting projects, and I don't know that everybody's had the opportunity to see that these are the plans for what we're anticipating to be a very heavy construction season starting this summer. And our friends from Reith Riley are here with us. That they were just awarded the bid from the Redevelopment Commission, will be part of this. That this is the Kroger complex right here that you'll see. So you have the overpass here, and the new construction is going to be this road here. You have a new road coming up here, and then along there, following out into Clear Lake there. It's hard to see from afar, but there is a pathway that comes along here. That represents the Chessie Trail that will come into Newport Landing. Ultimately, the Chessie Trail is intended to connect up with Kiwanis Teledyne Park, which is at the north end of Pine Lake Ave. It's going to be just probably a year or two behind the schedule with the construction that we're building with Newport Landing. And we should see the start of vertical construction this year, that Dunkin' Donuts is intending to initiate some of their construction project in the, I think, later spring. Thomas Rose Industrial Park is another exciting project that we're working towards with implementation of infrastructure there. And in 2012, then Governor Mitch Daniels joined us for the groundbreaking with the addition of 137 acres. Since then, we've continued to work toward the infrastructure plans, and are intending to have the infrastructure growth go on with you'll see the black line up there. I'm not quite tall enough, even with my heels on, to reach it. But then you also have the rail spur that was intended to come in here, which has now been constructed, depicted there, and those are the plans with the Thomas Rose Industrial Park, the first phases of the infrastructure placement with road, water, sewer, and stormwater service. We were excited to celebrate with our friends from Ivy Tech, I think a week ago on Friday, with the ribbon cutting of a new facility, training facility there that's offering 2 curriculum paths at the moment of certified production technician that's ultimately geared towards leading into a CNC machining program, and there's also a CDL Class A licensing program that is available through the partnership with DriveCo. We are looking to continue to grow those opportunities, but it's imperative that we make sure that we start off at with achievable goals, and so we need to make sure that we're filling those classes, which we've been very successful with so far, and we just want to continue growing those as this whole area continues to grow. And that is a critical component of our workforce development overall that I'll touch on in just a minute. But all of that is happening in Thomas Rose Industrial Park. And as we look to our downtown and the exciting projects that are happening there, at the bottom you'll see the draft rendering of what is anticipated to be the downtown plaza at the corner of Lincoln Way and Monroe, that if you've driven by there recently, you will probably see some of the demolition that's been going on of the former Michael's Furniture building. And it is anticipated to be a place that's going to draw more people into the downtown to make sure that they're utilizing the just gem that we have of our downtown. And Thaddeus Cutler has done some great work with our local restaurateurs in the downtown area, that if somebody wants to come and sit in the plaza, they can order from one of the restaurants downtown and they'll come and deliver right to the plaza. So it greatly expands our outdoor seating in the downtown area. And just a lot of different features in there to be able to just incorporate different types of events that would come through. All, as I said, with the idea of drawing more folks into the downtown area. We work closely with the Urban Enterprise Association as we're building, and Thaddeus Cutler and Beth Schrader, our city planner here, have been doing a tremendous work with building a strategic plan that they've taken an overlay of the downtown, looked at which buildings are vacant, and said, which ones are we going to focus on first, and what are we going to try and bring there? They're building a team of business owners from across the community to go out and talk with successful businesses across the state and share with them the different programs that we have available to open a new business in LaPorte, and how excited we are to have them, what a thriving community we are, and what great opportunities are available, which is a tremendous message coming from a fellow business owner to another person in our community. So very appreciative of that. I'm very excited about the plans that the LaPorte County Library has for incorporating especially some maker spaces and office spots and meeting locations in their proposed plan for the strategic plan with the library. And I think that this is a great opportunity for folks to think about their commuting patterns overall. But that was done through the collaboration of those 3 entities as well as LaPorte County. To be able to start this service with the idea of being able to hopefully continue to grow it as more and more people use it. Our water and sewer departments have done an amazing job. What's not to love about these pictures right here? The water tower and the sewer water treatment plant. But the water tower shown here is freshly painted after last year, and they did a great job of monitoring that program overall. And the wastewater treatment plant has done an amazing job of furthering sewer cleaning. And both of the water department and the sewage department had 0 violations for the entirety of 2014 providing their services, and have done a lion's share of the work for planning the infrastructure placement in Thomas Rose Industrial Park and Newport Landing. They're also now looking at expanding to the airport, and that's sort of the next big step, as we're also working through the Newport Landing and Thomas Rose construction this year. Our fire, police, and the building and code enforcement departments have done, as always, an amazing job. The fire department then had 2,451 calls. They also were instrumental in answering the issue that arrived last, I guess it was probably May timeframe, of a natural gas leak outside of City Hall when we had to clear a lot of the downtown area to address that particular gas leak. There was tremendous coordination amongst both the fire, police, emergency management, the school corporation, who was very helpful in that, the YMCA, and just amazing teamwork to address a rapidly changing and very dynamic situation. The police department once again saw a decrease in crime. That last year we saw an 8% decrease in crime from the previous year. That takes us to a 33% decrease since January of 2012 that the police department has been involved with. I think the contributors towards that have been the community policing program, where officers are actively going out to try and create positive relationships before somebody has to interact with them in a potentially seemingly negative fashion. And then Assistant Chief Julie Smith has really put a lot of work towards managing the Nixle system, which I don't know if anyone here has tracked what's all available on Nixle, that routinely puts out basically real-time information as much as possible on different activities, and then is able to gather community feedback as the events are happening, which has greatly contributed towards our ability to address catching individuals that have made some poor decisions. Then I think another piece that has played a big role in this has been their active involvement with social media, with the creation of a Facebook page that they monitor regularly and are able to then collect feedback from folks across the community. So while the 8% decrease in crime over the last year and the 33% decrease is hugely driven by the police department, a key part of that has been everyone across the community providing information that the police have been able to act on. So please spread the word to continue that, and it allows for our department to continue to serve you better. The Code Enforcement Department is often an unsung hero, that they do incredible work with a limited amount of staff, that they are an army of two and go out to address the entire city and look at code violations overall. Last year they had 3,371 investigations conducted, and the major contributors towards the issues were involving tree lawns, animals, and signs. And then the number 2 area was building code violations, and the third largest violator was regarding junk vehicles. One of the things that we're looking at for the future is doing an actuarial study for the Code Enforcement Department on what costs are involved with processing all of these violations to ensure that our fee structure is in line with what it actually costs to administer this program. So I think that there's a lot more opportunity coming forward, that they do very important work to address blight in neighborhoods that ultimately leads towards safer neighborhoods. So it is an important mission that they're involved with. And that sort of wraps up some of our infrastructure, but all of these things, they tie together of business and economic development growth, and having the infrastructure then that's supporting that growth, and then ultimately the final piece of being fostering the positive lifestyle choices, and now, and helping connect folks with the ability to feel as though they've added value to the world around them, that they've mattered in some capacity. And an important part of that has been engagement overall of folks across the community, and through our Human and Community Relations Director, Jen Laux, who has joined us last fall, that she's done tremendous work already that allows the city to basically walk the walk and not just talk the talk about this idea of engagement with our employees and with the citizens overall. And so we have, I hope you enjoy a couple of pictures here of the championship dragon boat racing team from the city of LaPorte. Hashtag Hub of Awesome. And down at the lower corner here, that was a picture from our first ever employee recognition and appreciation drive-through breakfast that Jen made us get up at dark and early at 5 a.m. to come and be able to provide breakfast to thank all of our employees who so diligently serve at those time frames for all of the city. And so we had a drive-through breakfast that people could just drive in front of City Hall and pick up some donuts and some oranges and other bananas. So we did have a little bit of both kinds of options there. And then we're implementing a new program called City Kudos, where employees are recognizing the outstanding achievements of their peers, of somebody who's gone just a little bit above and beyond, and they're able to submit their names for awards that they're then able to have access to what we call City Bucks. and they can gather these city bucks to then apply them towards different incentives that we'll provide throughout that are logoed items from the city. And then Jen's also been instrumental in getting the launch rolled out for the LaPorte app called Go LaPorte, which is available through the iTunes store. It's also on Android, and it's an extension of our website that is a citizen portal for folks to have better access to community projects and services overall. There's some really cool features involved in it, and one of the things I think is just really amazing is the ability that if you have a smartphone that you're using this app with and you want to take a picture to submit for whatever reason, maybe it's that you found a location of a pothole and want to submit that, you can do that through the application here. And if you have it with a smartphone, it attaches the geographic coordinates of where you've taken the picture at. So it automatically sends the exact location to the street department, so they're able to find that location, not just relying upon your description of where the issue exists. And so that's just one of the cool features. Highly encourage everybody to take advantage of that, take a look at what's all featured through that program. We have continued our efforts towards substance abuse mitigation. That the DARE program has continued in all of the 5th grade classrooms across the city. And you'll see a picture from one of the DARE graduations last spring. We have a new member of the family at the police department, Rambo, with his caretaker and the officer, I guess they call him partner, Officer Drangmeister, who works with Rambo and is then a part of our K-9 unit. And last year we also had the opportunity to take some of the funds raised through the Mayor's Ball to help a new outpatient treatment facility, Frontline Foundation, who is coming to the city of LaPorte and has been doing a tremendous amount of work at their location on Michigan Ave across from the courthouse that you'll see some of the demolition there. And I understand that they should be up and running around May timeframe this year to start serving some of our folks that are looking to be able to make some better decisions in their lives. And so we are continuing the march towards addressing substance abuse mitigation, but there's certainly a long way that we have to go, and it does take collaboration and help in all of these different areas of prevention, law enforcement, and rehabilitation from everyone to encourage folks to be able to make some of those better decisions. As we've talked a little bit about some of the infrastructure before, but I wanted to touch on some of the unique aspects. I mentioned the Chesapeake Trail. You can see the map of it there that connects from the north end of Pine Lake. Ultimately, we hope to connect into the downtown. The phases that we have funding identified for at this point just take it to Newport Landing, but we are continuing to look at how we would fund the final portions that actually take it into the downtown. This pile of dirt that you see here is actually intentional. It will then grow to be a community garden here in the next couple of months at the corner of Jefferson and Jackson. And the Board of Works just went through the receiving bids and is moving forward with placing electric vehicle charging stations throughout the community. And so this isn't a picture of the ones that will actually be put into place, because that still is forthcoming, but just gives you an idea of what those charging stations look like. So this is a way that we're thinking about how are we building our infrastructure in ways that's supporting folks to make some of these decisions that further engages them in the community overall. Our Parks and Recreation Department is a huge part of that they are a big part of the equation for our quality of life, which is something that is very important for businesses as they're looking for places that they want to locate to. Some of the programs that we're looking forward to is that you'll see a map of Kessling over here. There's a group from Rotary that is doing an amazingly generous thing of helping contribute towards building a concession stand out at the Little League fields, which are these areas right down here. We are excited about having a bicycle rental or bike share program available through the Beach House this year. This was just what we thought was a more efficient way to utilize some of the bicycles that get collected by the police department. Instead of auctioning them off for $2, then why not help fix them up so that somebody could use them? I don't know that they're going to look like something that you want to ride, because you probably then ultimately won't take them home, which is the idea. But those will then be available through the Beach House starting this summer. Beechwood Golf Course continues to have a great year due to the amazing efforts by all of the staff out there, that they did have a profit of over $5,000 last year. So they are an amazing entity that is continuing to contribute towards the city overall, and are just a great place to go and play golf, as I understand it. I'm not a golfer for safety reasons. And then the Civic Auditorium, we had the addition of a new director this year that we restructured some of our staffing with that, and now it is a partnership with the Convention and Visitors Bureau. So it is he has dual employment to both the city and the Convention and Visitors Bureau. The idea being it bridges some of that the divide between the city and the CVB that we do talk regularly, but by having a shared employee, then it helps draw some of the events that the CVB has exposure to the venue at the Civic. And Brett Benversi is the new director there and doing a tremendous job. And he's been very instrumental already in the organization and logistics planning for the Maple City Grand Prix, since he is that shared employee. And it's already been a great partnership to have that advantage of the communication ease by having someone who's a direct employee there. Our community health and wellness programs have continued. That Fitness Friday was another great year last year. And while this was not one of our programs, I had to give a shout out to our friends at IU Health, the Porte Hospital, and the foundation, that I just thought this event, the Cooking with Thor, was such a unique opportunity for folks across the community to understand some of the health and nutrition aspects that come with wellness overall. And if you haven't had a chance to visit their website, the recipes are there, which are very easy, and they are approved by the 4th grade judges that they had there. It's just a tremendous event that showcased how easy healthy meals can be to make, a lesson that I needed to learn at that point as someone who's not necessarily a regular cook. And we are looking to grow some of these programs across the community. We took the message of Fitness Fridays to a city or town in every county last year, and so I visited 92 counties to help create a similar community wellness program, because I think it's that important. When we have 41, that we're ranked number 41 in the country as far as our health, that it is tremendously important that we are thinking a little bit differently about how can we include physical activity in our regular routine, and all we need is about 30 minutes every day. So with that, Mike really wanted to do some physical activity today, and he specifically asked if he could do some interpretive dance alongside the meeting. I don't know, it might be too much. But with that, I'm going to ask everyone to please stand up. That you're not going to get out of this without doing some sort of physical activity. If you do feel moved to do your own interpretive dance, this is America, I'm not going to stop you. But I'm going to do just a simple one of we'll do some arm circles with you, and we're going to go out to the side instead. I think last time we went up top, and so we'll just do the side, and we're going to just do some really quick arm circles here. You can go backwards too if you'd like. Or switch them up. Do some windmills. I think I can never tell if I got it. And I got some stretching going on. Perfect. It's like the 7th inning stretch here. Don't worry, we're actually at like the 8th and a half inning. You can go ahead and have a seat. Thank you very much.
I didn't catch Mike.
He's so stunned with everything that he's not sure how to interpret it all just yet. As we think about all of these different aspects, and as I've been doing further reading, there have been a couple of individuals that have stood out to me in the readings that I've been doing lately. And specifically this quote that I found from Steve Jobs, where he talks about that innovation has nothing to do with how many R&D dollars you have. He said, when Apple came up with the Mac, IBM was spending at least 100 times more on R&D. It's not about money, it's about the people you have. It's how you're led and how much you get it. And I think that that's such an important aspect for us to understand, that while we may struggle with some of our resources, especially when we talk about some of our road funding, that we have an amazing team across the community in so many different sectors. And as we looked at how are we going to start solving some of this issue with our road funding, I mean, an example just within the city is that I can then turn to Nick Minnick, who is oddly passionate about types of concrete and materials. But because he is, then that is what allows us to then apply some of that knowledge to solving a problem. And if you take that kind of an idea and apply it across the entire community and think about all the different talents that exist here and passions that folks have in interest areas, and we think of how can we apply those to the community overall, we'll find that not only is the community able to grow in an amazing way, but it leads back to that internal happiness that you feel as though you've connected with something, that you've mattered, that you've contributed towards a greater cause. And I included a picture of Walt Disney up here too, that he was another individual that a tremendous visionary in and of himself, but I think what some of his lasting legacy has been of how he helped to develop further generations of folks to continue that Disney legacy. And so the question then for us is then how do we want to continue to develop and inspire folks across the community so that then it's able to pull out all of those different talents and passion areas in ways that we're able to apply across the community. So if we look at all the different sectors of the business and industry, the nonprofits, the service organizations, government, faith-based, educational community, and citizens that are wanting to be active but aren't necessarily sure how to plug their resources into helping the community, if we can better bridge that gap and inspire individuals to want to get involved, then it can greatly contribute towards our all individual or total individual pursuit of happiness and our collective pursuit of happiness overall. And so I think that if there's anything that I can leave you with here today of what is the state of the city is ultimately going to be what you believe it can be. And that there's so many different ways that you can perceive things, that one of the things we also like to do with our staff meetings is I try to encourage our different department heads with what they're reading, and I like to learn from them on their reading. And our city attorney, Becca Meyer, who does an amazing job, had a great example this past week that she's been reading a book called The Hope Quotient. And it talks about the element of hope that we incorporate into our decision making. And she was sharing with us the story and example that they use of lobster traps up in Maine, that some people can view the lobster trap from the lobster's perspective of this is going to catch you and then this is going to lead to bad things in your life. You can also view it from the perspective of a bird who's able to create a nest inside that lobster trap that then protects it from predators outside of the trap. So it can be both of those things. It can be a challenge and things can be an opportunity, and it's all in how we want to view them. So I see the city at a point where we're able to decide, we know the things that we have to do, what are the things that we want to do, who do we want to be as a community? And I believe that we can be a community that thrives as we work towards inspiring one another through those different areas of the engaging communication, critical thinking skills, emphasizing the value of hard work, and overall trying to contribute towards then that meaningful experience, helping folks to feel as though they've contributed something overall to the opportunities for earned success, and then helping prevent anybody from falling out of love with the city overall. That concludes then this year's State of the City. Thank you so much for your attention towards this and for all of your contributions. That you are what makes the city this thriving community that it is. So thank you for everything that you do. I am so excited for all the opportunities that we have as we continue to move forward and we continue to inspire one another. God bless you. God bless the city.